Sorry. Heavy enduro man. You caught me in the wild. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Notiers Frontiers.
Thank you for joining us on our channel where we explore the world on our KTM 1190 motorcycle. And now we are headed up to the top of Alaska.
So we had a great time at the Overland Expo. We got to hang out with old friends.
The Stone Gate, the Neat Stone Gate. I was just leaving there and I saw one. I go, this is great.
Something, September.
I'm sorry, I wish we could have done like a cool video together, but it got hot.
Yeah, it got really warm. It's so warm.
It's very hot.
Y'all be careful.
Oh, look at those. Every time I see you, you're with different gloves.
We met some new friends.
So Maddie is a fellow author of a motorcycle travel book called The Topography of Fear. And he's also very well versed in all the coolest roads of the area. And so we headed off with Maddie to explore some of these cool roads that he had been telling us about in Oregon. Good morning. We are at our friend Maddie's house, which just happens to be very near where the Overland Expo Pacific Northwest was. And we are headed into Oregon today to explore. We're going up McKenzie Pass, and hopefully we'll see some really cool views, maybe a beautiful lake.
For sure.
But right now we're gearing up and we're gonna go over to Smith Rock, which is very near here in Redmond, Oregon, and Manny's coming with, and we should have a good time. Going to see was Smith Rock, which is actually where Maddie and his wife Gabriella got married.
Yeah.
So you got married here.
I did.
Oh,
it's a
my
special
gosh,
place
that's
to us.
Cool. That is so awesome. And where did you get married? Like
just around the bend. So this was all our backdrop.
Oh my goodness. I have to say, this is such a gorgeous place.
And that's the Crooked River down there.
The Crooked River. It looks like southern Utah.
Yeah, it looked really, really beautiful.
I couldn't believe that it was in Central Oregon.
Yeah. I mean, I think the fact that you haven't been to Central Oregon kinda, you know.
It was just not what I had expected for that area. I'm currently at Smith Rock and Tim is using the porta potty. And so I just decided to take a moment to sit in the shade and look at the gorgeous view. It's really pretty and quiet here, and it's really not what I expected Oregon to be like. It's high desert, and for some reason in my head I just thought the entirety of the state was just rainy and with a lot of big pine trees, but this is very different and very surprising. The rocks, the cliffs, the colors, it was all so gorgeous. What's the name of your YouTube channel?
Oh, it's Giddy Up Adventures.
Oh, awesome.
So it doesn't say adventures here, but Giddy Up Adventures.
I love that.
Yeah, I do some how-tos, but I try to do little smaller trips. And then, you know, hopefully in the future there'll be some bigger journeys, epic ones where I go to other countries and stuff.
Well, you are in a gorgeous area of the world.
Yeah,
so...
it's hard to need when your backdrop is this. When you live,
Yeah.
I mean, this is where I walk the dogs. You know.
Yeah.
So this is it's a good place to live.
It's amazing. So from Smith Rock, we headed on to Mackenzie Pass. Pass goes through an area of the Cascade Mountains, and this is my first time and our first time going to the Cascades on a motorcycle. The Cascades start in Northern California and go all the way up to British Columbia in Canada. So, what are these mountains?
These are the sisters. So the ones directly in front of us is South Sister, Middle Sister, and North, and they're also known as Faith, Hope, and Charity.
These were gorgeous mountains. They are super tall. They are covered in snow for most of the year, if not all of the year.
Yeah.
Whoa!
And there's Mount Washington.
Oh wow, so that's that little peak over there.
Yeah.
A couple of them are named after presidents. So you got, you know, Johnson. Was that even one of them?
Jefferson.
Jefferson. Washington.
There may have been a Johnson president, I don't know.
There was. And then there's one called like Three-Fingered Jack. Don't think that's president.
No.
The Bachelor. I'm not sure if there were any single presidents. Maybe, quite possibly.
You're filming all this.
Yeah. This is the documentary of the documentary, dude.
Along Mackenzie Pass, it started to become this very unique, almost lunar landscape with all of these volcanic rocks.
Sadly, there had been some burnouts in the sections.
Yeah.
But it gave way to some pretty views, and it's not a good sacrifice for the trees to just give views. But then we did start getting to a landscape where, yeah, trees don't grow. It was like
really crazy.
You know, it looked like soil made of rock.
And we pull up to this place where there was a big mound of these rocks that had naturally formed, but at the top of it was clearly this man-made structure. And it reminded me of a castle.
It was a little turret. That's yeah, I think that's what they were going for.
A castle-like look out of these black rocks. I mean, it looked like some evil sorcerer. You know, this would be his domain.
Yeah, it would be my domain. I felt quite at home.
We are at something quite interesting looking. They call it an observatory, but it looks kind of like a castle made out of black rocks to me. Look at these gorgeous igneous rocks. Beautiful, and I love feeling their very grainy texture. Sign said an observatory, and when I think observatory, I think telescopes,
Yeah.
looking up into the stars. And so I thought, well,
Maybe
this
we're at the
place
wrong
isn't-
one.
Yeah.
But it turned out to be D. Wright Observatory.
Oh,
Ah, look at that. Disclaimer from here, folks.
because it was called Wright Observatory.
It's called D. Wright, in fact.
D. Wright Observatory.
Get it right.
I got it all wrong.
Yeah. But it was cool because you go into like the little, my living room version of it, of the
Yeah.
little
The
turret.
first floor.
Yeah.
So it turns out that this is actually an observatory. Every single one of these windows is facing towards a certain landmark. This one here is Mount Washington. And then you look through and you can see the mountain way out there. The observatory had these holes in the rocks that could look out to each of the landscapes around the area as
Yeah.
opposed to the stars.
This is true.
Every single one of these has another landmark that it's facing towards. It was cool because I didn't know the names of any of these mountains or geological formations, and so to have the name there and the little window showing you exactly what you're looking at was perfect.
So after our little living room tour, then we went up on top to the roof, and there was just this grand 360 view all around us, and a little golden compass in the middle that kind of had pointed to everything, except South Sister, but it must have been hidden behind one of her larger, more
Prominent sisters.
prominent, I was going to say obese.
Perhaps an elder sister.
An elder sister. It was beautiful because there's this weird moonscape into large volcanic mountains, and yeah, it was turning out to be a really fun ride.
Absolutely. Then Maddie told us that the next part of the road was going to be these super twisties. And in my Chicago opinion, we had already experienced quite amazing twisties on our way there. And I
Yeah.
was like, wow, even more twisty than this? And he was right. Back and forth and just winding into this forest. That whole lunar landscape disappeared.
Yeah, I mean, once we went to the observatory, I think that was like the apex of the pass itself. And then to the east side of the pass, it was dry and pretty hot, and nice. But as soon as we got down and started going back through the forest, like these ponderosa trees started popping up, and it was much more humid.
Almost like temperate rainforest type trees were just everywhere, reaching up to the sky and covered in, it looked like a Spanish moss
Yeah, but it was American
type of
moss.
plant. And then the ground cover would be ferns. It was like a dinosaur jungle.
This is beautiful.
It was so beautiful. And you could smell the trees. I don't know if it was the sap or the leaves, but you could smell this freshness to the forest. And I thought, okay,
yeah.
now we are entering into the Oregon that I thought was the entirety of the state. This is the super thick forested part of Oregon.
Yeah, not the top of Tim's head, scarce living
Desert.
desert. Through sections of Oregon as a child and taking pictures, you know, and that's when you actually like developed them, and then had a photo book, and then I've glanced at that photo book throughout the years. But some of the pictures, they just look like a backcloth of like some fake scenery, because it's just too, you know, saturated and beautiful, you know, and it's like, nah, that was really, I was there.
The colors are so crisp out there.
Really beautiful. So we had a really awesome ride with Matt. Can't thank him enough for being an awesome tour guide.
Unfortunately, we had to split ways.
This is true.
And before we did so, he told us about this waterfall that was going to be ahead called Coosa
Something like
Falls?
that.
Well, I didn't know what to expect, but this waterfall was huge.
It's grandioso.
You can hear the waterfall. So cool. Wow, it's massive. I really feel like we're in the jungle here. Look at this log. Whoa. Look at this moss. This part of the United States is so amazing. I've never been to the Pacific Northwest before, and like, the forest. Look at this tree. It's got moss growing all over it and lichen. It's crazy. And then this waterfall here, wow. Oh my goodness, so cool. Super impressive.
Yeah.
Wow, and you could feel the cool breezes coming off of that waterfall mist as you walk up to it. It's so loud, just
much
roaring.
Needed. It was a hot day.
It was
we
a hot
walked
day.
in, and the breeze, and then the water droplets would hitting us was nice. I have this little neck buff thing, and I dipped it into the water and put it on. Oh my god! And that was amazing.
Sorry, heavy enduro man. You caught me in the wild.
So the rest of the ride to Portland was beautiful through that twisting forest. And finally, the forest opened up to the city of Portland, and that's where we are now.
We are indeed.
On the agenda is going around Mount Hood, which is one of the most famous mountains of this region, and seeing the headquarters for Moscow Moto. We're super excited about that.
Bunch of cool dudes and
That'll
gals.
be tomorrow.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for the next episode, and I hope you liked this one. If you did, please give us a big thumbs up and hit the subscribe button below. Ding ding. And we'll be seeing you next time.
Stay safe, everybody.
Bye.
Peace.
I just thought a waterfall, just a normal waterfall in size.
What's a normal waterfall in size? Like we're from Chicago, so that's like bath
A trickle,
spigot,
yeah, spigot.
bathtub spigot. But yeah.
Well, yeah, like one of those.